Australian edition, 2004, doing the rear brakes. Just want to do the rear brake pads. Left rear specifically. So we're doing the left rear brake pads. I've got the ceramic brake lube. You can do two brakes with two sides with that, two sides of the car. Then I've got my small pliers with the bendy end, large needle nose pliers, 14mm open end spanner, and I've got the ratchet handle and a breaker bar with a 14mm socket. And of course I've got my trade line brake pads from Super Cheap Auto. Won't be forgetting the torch. That'll come in handy as well. Too tight. Put those away safely. Pop that under the torsion bar. The first thing I noticed about these brakes was I looked at the caliper and I thought, what is going on with this? Is that the brake pads that I can see on the top? And yes, it is the brake pads. Unfortunately, there are some springs that need to be released. Get up close. And this one has a secondary spring here where my pinky is, and that holds the guide pins in place. Those pins there, and I thought, what the hell, why do we have guide pins going through the brake pads? But that's the way it is, so we'll get them off. So I'll try to give the pins a bit of a nudge from the back of the pin and then pry them out with the pliers. I'll get those pliers around the end of the pin because there's like a head on it, and then I'll give it a tap with the breaker bar to pull it right out. rather painful. So what I'm going to do with that pin is put some rust inhibitor on that, and then I'll grease it with the brake grease. You can see the pinhole in it pretty clearly there. Now I had trouble working out before which bolt to undo, and I figured, well, it's got to be the one with the glide pins with the rubber boots on them. So not the top bolt, the one behind it, and not the brake liner hose, obviously. Not that top bolt, but there's one with a boot behind it. See if you can see my finger there. There it is. That one there. It's the one underneath this one. So we'll do the top one first, so we can swing it back and open up the brake pads a little. .14mm socket and breaker bar. Don't know if you can really see that, but I'm trying to hold the torch and the breaker bar and the camera at the same time. So we'll just zoom in there and then I'll do it. I'm actually tightening it, so I've got to go down to break it. Okay. That's much better. I should be able to pry that caliper upwards now and get to the brake pad. I'll have to take the caliper off this one. I was able to get them out before by not taking the caliper off, but that's fine. I'll just take it off. It'll be much easier to get them off. Yeah, I was able to pull out the back brake, the inside brake pad from the back. So I just pulled it out here, and the front one I just popped right out. So I still need to take that off, but what I'm going to do is try and compress that in a little bit. So I did that before, just by using the back, my nail nose pliers while it was in position. So I'll give that a bit of a press. There it goes. I'm just pressing in on the edge of the edge of the rotor and try not to actually put any pressure on where the brake goes on the rotor. Now, the front pin is shorter than the back pin. You can see the difference in the size of the caliper. Hopefully that's open enough that I can put the brake pads in. Firstly, we want to get these glide pins out. So I'll push it up. That's very sticky, doesn't want to move. So that will need some grease. Carefully remove that boot. You can see why we really need to grease these glide pins. That's going to come out of the top. I'll try and pull it from the bottom. A little bit of corrosion on that. Grease that up, get it back in. Now that we've greased the glide pins, we want to grease up these slider pins. There is a website with like a diagram of all of this. That's the only information I could find on the Australian model. So that's all I had to go by. Unfortunately, I didn't have a YouTube video to watch for the Australian model, so that's why I'm doing this one for you. You may need this. So I've greased up my slider pins, and I'm going to hang the brake pads on those. break these open. So you remember this one went on the inside, but it's painfully obvious that the ceramic pad goes against the rotor. Obviously you don't want to get grease on the actual pad, so be careful of that. From looking at it before, that's my inside pad, and that's my outer. And I know how they hang. I have to do the outside first because that's the way the pins go in first. And I might just put a little bit of grease on the outside of this. As they say, it stops your squealing if you have a little bit of grease on the shim. I mean, on your vacuum plate, so try that. Probably don't need that much. Make sure my line isn't twisted. Okay, that's going to hang there. I'm going to push my pins right through the back of the brake pad. Little lower one first. Slightly through, just give it a bit of a nudge. I don't want to go in too far because I still have to get the inner brake pad in. Of course it wants to be stubborn because it's not straight. Doesn't want to go in very well. Just pull my pad in straight and try and get another pin in to the other side. I think I actually got a little grease on my pad then with my fingers. Not cool, man. I might get some brake cleaner on that. I don't like the concept of these slide pins because they don't slide really well. Now from memory, we have to get the holes aligned slightly to the outside of the caliper. Just twist that a little bit. It's got to go slightly to the outside. This one over a bit more. Yeah, that's it. So we can put that retaining clip in, that retaining pin, remember? It's hot today. Okay, there should be just enough room to get the inner brake pad in. Okay, I'm going to get that grease off the pad. I hate grease with a passion. Yeah, just pry that flush, the piston. Okay, the pads are over the caliper. I'll put the bottom bolts in. Push that glide pin back a little bit and get it in position. I should be safe to put the retaining clips in now. Firstly, I'll see if the holes are in position, which they're not. Of course, they've twisted going in, so I'll just twist them with the pliers there until I see the hole. Yep, there it is. So I'll have it going slightly at an angle like that, slightly opposed. That hole's slightly opposed as well. This one goes under the pin, over the brake. Over the shim and in through that large hole. Under, over and in. It slips under the slide pin, over the brake pad shim, and inside that second middle hole. Now they're a bit loose now, so I'll just have to do up the other glide pin, make sure everything's secure, and then pump the brakes. Now in that diagram that I put a link to, it said that you should bleed the brakes and take the pressure off when you're pushing the piston in, but it says that Toyota doesn't recommend it, so I'm not going to do it. The pads are no longer loose. The retaining pins are in place. I should be able to put the wheel back on now. The inside brake pad is no longer loose, the piston is squished up against it.